Okay, let's start with the first demonstration on how to work out this problem in your homework. Now, first, let me just remind you that what we're doing is we are reading the word form, and from the word form, we're going to write it in numerals. And then after we write it in numerals, we're going to write that number in expanded notation. So let's start with the word form and what it says. We have 2,098,504 and 504 thousandths. So to break this down to better help you, we're going to break it down by place value period. So we're going to look at where our first comma is, and we see that it says 2 million. If we come up here, the millions place starts here. And so in this section, we're going to write the number that they're telling us. And they're telling us that we have 2 million. So let me just explain this, why this really makes a difference. If you were to write it here, okay? Now remember, we cannot leave these other two spaces alone. So if you write that 2 there, you have to write a 0 to fill in those spaces. So then really what you have is 200. So that's why it's important to know where it is that you're going to be writing those numbers. And so if what I have is just the 2, because that's what it's saying, 2 million, then that 2 is going to go here. Okay, that's what a 2 looks like. All right, our next one. Our next one, where the comma ends, says 98,000. 98,000. All right, so my thousands place is right here. Okay, so in those 3 boxes, I need to make sure that I write the number 98. Okay, so here is the number 98. Now, I see that there's a space by itself in the 100,000s place. So I'm going to go ahead and add a 0 there because I cannot leave it blank. So then now I have the number 98 and it's inside the thousandths place. Now let's go to the next one. The next one says 504. 504. And that is right here, 504. So to write 504, 504. Okay. And then the word and means decimal, which I do have it there. And so then now I go into my decimals, and it says for my decimals, I have 504 thousandths. So the number that I have has to end in the thousandths place, which obviously makes sense because the number I have is 504 thousandths. That's what it says there. All right, now I have my number. Now that I have my number in numeral form, I can now write it in expanded notation. And remember, expanded notation, all you're doing is copying your digit and then telling me the place value that it's in. So for instance, let's start with here. We have our 2. So I'm going to write 2 times, and then I just copy this. It's in my millions place. Okay, plus, I skip my zeros, so now I moved over to my 9. I have a 9, and that 9 is inside my 10 thousandths place. So I just copy that. Plus. Now I have an 8, and that 8 is inside my thousandths place. So I just copy that thousands. Okay, now I have a 5, and that 5 is inside my 100. Plus, I skip the 0. I move over to my 4. I have a 4, and that 4 is inside my ones place. Now I move over to my 5 times. And in this one, it doesn't matter which one you use. You could either use the decimal version of it or the fraction. However, once you choose one, make sure that, for instance, the number 5 and the 4 either stay in the decimal form or you're writing it in the fraction form. So for this one example, I'm going to use the decimal form, and it's in the tenths place. And remember, to write tenths, it's a 10 backwards with a decimal after the first 0. That's the way to remember it. And then I have a 4, and that one is in my thousandths place, and the decimal form of that is 1,000 backwards with a decimal after the first 0. And there we go. There, you're done with that. Let me do one more example with you, okay? Right here. So let's start. First one, I have, let me do this. I have 6 million in the millions place. So this is my millions place again, and I need to write just the number 6 in there. That's what it says, 6. All right, next part, have 73,000. 73,000. Okay, this is my thousand. The next 3, and let's write the number 73. Here's 73. Make sure you put a 0. Can't leave that just blank. Okay, next one, 950. 950. Okay, so let me go ahead and mark it off. Okay, so now we're writing the number 950. The word and means decimal. And now it says in the last one, we have a 7 in the thousandths place. A 7 in the thousandths place. So here is my thousandths place right here. And that's where I'm going to write that 7. However, I cannot leave just spaces blank. So I need to make sure I put zeros here. Okay, so now I have my number. Now that I wrote it in numeral form, I am now going to write it in expanded notation, okay? So let's start. I have a 6, and that 6 is inside my millions place. I just copy that number just like it's already written. Plus, I have a 7. And that 7 is inside my 10,000ths place. Plus, have a 3 inside the 1,000. Plus, I have a 9 inside the 100. Plus, have a 5 inside the 10. Plus, I skip on my zeros, don't write those in, so I move on to my 7. Have a 7, and this time I'm going to use the fraction form inside of my thousandths place. Okay, so there you are. That's how you go from word form to numerals to expanded notation, using your place value chart here to help you fill both of those answers out.